On After 8, should American churches be offering sanctuary to illegal aliens? As we reported yesterday, some 50 churches in America are opening their doors to Central American refugees in open violation of the law. We begin part 2 with a report from newsman Mike Brunswick of KSN-TV, our NBC affiliate in Wichita, Kansas.
Thousands of Central American refugees like these are hiding in Mexico and the United States. They have escaped from their countries because of the atrocities that they say are being committed by their governments. Those atrocities include torture and murder. They are running for their lives. This courtyard is just a stopping point for many on the run. It is near a church in Tapachula, Mexico. Tapachula, Mexico is just 15 miles from the Guatemala border. The population here, 92,000. But some say on a given day, that population increases by 40,000. Those 40,000 are Central American refugees. Being so close to the border makes them nervous. One of the Mexican priests who offers them refuge is nervous too.
I want to know why he feels it is very important that we not identify him.
Porque estoy muy lejos de Guatemala. Porque estoy muy lejos de Guatemala, unos cuantos minutos.
Because I am not very far from Guatemala, just a few minutes.
Who is it that he fears?
Aquí decimos judiciales, ¿no?
Well, here we call them judicials, the judicial police, the Guatemalan judicial police.
What is he afraid that they might do, could do?
Lo que han hecho en otras partes del estado, desaparecer gente.
What they have done in other parts of the state, make people disappear.
The padre puts his life on the line to keep the refugees alive. A priest nearby who also helped the refugees was gagged, tortured, and killed, a fate the padre now fears for himself. The refugees' journey to freedom is long and risky. For many, the trip begins here. This river is the only obstacle that separates Guatemalans from Mexico. Under the skeptical eyes of government soldiers, Guatemalans cross to trade with merchants on the Mexican side. Some have no intention of ever going back. Jim Corbett is an American, famous for his years of fearless efforts to help hundreds of refugees get to safety. As we sat along the riverbank, he told me about the fate of those who look like they are crossing for good.
Yeah, the Guatemalans, of course, try to watch, and if there's someone they think is trying to escape, basically out of profile, they may shoot him.
Coming across with too much luggage, says Corbett, is a sure invitation to death. Corbett is part of an underground railroad that smuggles refugees into northern Mexico and the United States. Here, he plans another route in a darkened corner of a Mexican hotel. He believes so strongly about their plight, he risks imprisonment each time he goes out, a penalty he says he is prepared to pay. Rennie Golden is one of the members of the Chicago Religious Task Force, the umbrella organization for the Underground Railroad and the Sanctuary Movement. We talked in a Mexican hotel room. She told me why the railroad is not as clandestine as it could be.
As a matter of fact, the openness of the railroad and the openness of the people who are willing to risk themselves in that is to make a statement politically to our State Department, to our INS, which says, enough, we say basta. No more will you deport these people back. So it's an attempt to put political pressure, but the grounds and the basis for it are moral grounds. That is, we could do nothing else.
Golden admits only a few are actually helped by the railroad. Most of the running refugees end up in Mexican camps along the Guatemalan border. By the time we got into this camp, it was nearly dark. These pictures were taken very quickly. What you are seeing was shot on film. We were advised to leave our videotape camera behind because it was too conspicuous. There are many camps, thousands of refugees. These drawings by children in the camps tell a story no words can convey. Look at them. Soldiers shooting men and women, helicopters and planes dropping bombs, houses on fire, more killing, more helicopters, people lying everywhere, presumably dead. Even if the war there should end, many wonder what the long-term effect of these young witnesses will be. It is because so many people care that contributions continue to pour into sanctuaries like the one in Concordia, Kansas. But the sisters here hope for more than just financial support. They pray for moral support, the kind of support that puts pressure on the United States government.
The more people that can be informed about what's going on in Central America, the greater will be the support. And And the government of the states does allow for public opinion to make the difference. And so I sincerely hope for a response from the people.
For today, Mike Brunswick, KSNU is Wichita.
Jim Corbett, whom you saw on the tape, is with us this morning, as is Roger Connor, the executive director of FAIR, which stands for the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Mr. Connor, you are opposed to sanctuary for these refugees. For you, the issue is not a humanitarian one, it's jobs?
No, I think it's both. That is to say, I think this is a classic example of doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. Everyone watching cares about those people and wants to help them. But bringing them to the United States, it's not a practical response. There are 100 million people living between the Mexican border and the Panama Canal. Tens of millions could be in the situation that is here being talked about. What we've got to do is not try to bring all those people to the United States, where we've already got 10 million Americans unemployed, especially because they're involved in a flow of illegal immigrants. And it's hard to tell for the churches, or indeed for the government, Jim, whether people are just coming here to get jobs or whether they're trying to escape violence. So what we should do, what we should be doing, is providing more resources for the United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees to allow people who are trying to escape fighting a place to stay near their countries, a place to go, so that those who are truly afraid have got a place to escape violence. But we shouldn't be setting up a situation which we have now, where people can come simply to take jobs which Americans want. Americans
These people are not coming to take jobs at all. These are people that are arriving with bullets in them. And the fact is that the Reagan administration, following a policy that's determined by a rigid Cold War ideology, is simply integrating the refugee issue as a human rights issue into the U.S. sponsorship of human rights violations in Central America. In Mexico, in Honduras, they have no refuge. Now, we're trying to find refuge anywhere we can get it. The United States is currently launching a massive violation of human rights in Central America, which is causing people to arrive here in a flood, and the United States is forcing Mexico to expel the refugees. It is turning the camps in Honduras into strategic hamlets that are have a reign of military terror.
But I wonder if we could get back at Mr. Connor does raise a point. Why Kansas? Why bring these people with bullets in them to Kansas?
Because that's where we found a niche. We're looking for niches anywhere we can get them.
Will they stay there?
These were Guatemalan Indians who don't even, most of them, speak Spanish. They were driven out of their country. They were driven and reached a place in Arizona where they were hiding in the brush. We had to find some kind of help for them.
Well, I don't think either the administration or the sanctuary movement has really taken a creative response to this problem, because
it's a human rights problem. Torture and murder have to take more concern. It's a human rights problem, and we ought to be dealing with the problem. But Jim, are you saying that the 2 billion people in the world who live in countries with a repressive government should be brought to the United States? I'm saying that we should
solution?
abide by the UN Refugee Protocol, which absolutely prohibits the return of these people to a place where they fear persecution.
But my question,
the United States is not allowing. The United States won't allow these people to take third country protocol. If you folks would concern yourself with human rights, the really basic issue, you'd come to terms with the refugees.
And I think if you'd come to terms with the needs of unemployed Americans, then you'd see that it's a more complex than the black and white in which you're trying to do.
I would like to interrupt here, and I will. Would you be as sympathetic to refugees, for example, of the Nicaraguan Sandinista government, or is this purely a political gesture against the Reagan administration?
No, it's not purely political. The fact is that the Reagan administration has integrated refugee policy into Cold War foreign policy.
He's warned of the feet people. Is this the first wave of the feet people?
Well, look, in Nicaragua, when Somocista was falling, we had a flood of Nicaraguans who came out. Most of them went back after the revolution. Now we have a flood of Salvadorans, and the Strategic Hamlet program, the pacification program...
I'm afraid I'm going to have to interrupt at that point. The clock will win. Coming up on 8:22, this is Today on NBC.